Okay, we're gonna tell the story of the heart attack because that's been everybody's number one question, especially is like, how did it feel? And honestly, if I can help somebody in the future to identify a heart attack or something, then I want to do that. And I also want to tell the story for all of you who have not been able to come and visit me. Here we go. It was the Monday after Thanksgiving, so it had been, kind of a stressful past couple weeks, and we were out of groceries, and so Monday afternoon I was headed to the grocery store, but honestly, I was practicing some self-care and was like, okay, I'm a little stressed, it's crazy, I'm gonna go treat myself to a hamburger at Arctic Circle before I go grocery shopping. Just chill out, enjoy my day, just baby myself a little bit. And while I was in the drive-through line, I started having massive pain, tightness in my chest, just right across my chest. And it's hard to describe really because I've never had a pain like that before, but it was almost like it was inflated, like, and just painful right all the way across. And I also had a lot of nausea, and a headache kind of exploded from my neck across my shoulders and up into my head. So it was the chest pain, the nausea, and the headache. And I honestly, my first impression was like, am I having a panic attack? I had not experienced anything like this pain before, and that was my first go-to thought. I didn't know what, but I felt like, no, mentally I'm doing okay. Like, I don't feel like I'm having a panic attack in my head. I just didn't know what was happening in my body. And honestly, I remembered from NPR, like years ago, they did a story on women's heart attacks and talked about how a lot of women don't recognize it, don't know what it is, try to push through it, try to rest, because it is that just chest discomfort and nausea. And we as women are really used to pushing through a lot of pain. And that is exactly what I was doing. I was sitting there in the parking lot. I really wanted to eat my little junior bacon cheeseburger, and I got a root beer float. And I kept thinking, I was using my mental health tools to like, calm down, it's okay, push through. But every time I went to like take a bite, I just could not eat it. I was just sick. And was really worried, was scared. But honestly, again, in my mind, I was like, but maybe I'll be okay. Maybe I can just go to the grocery store and just push through and I'll be fine. But, something inside me was telling me there's something really, really wrong. So I decided to drive home, but that alone was pretty scary because I didn't know what was going on. And as I was driving home, like, I had to stop at this red light, and I was just like, please, Heavenly Father, please help me just to get home. Got home, Lily and Trent were home, and I came in and I said, guys, I feel really bad. I'm either having a panic attack or I'm having a heart attack. And it will forever be funny, that Lily was like, Mom, you're not having a heart attack. And I went and laid down and was so upset because, again, ridiculous, but like, I did not want to go to the emergency room if I was having a panic attack. And of course, that's a valid reason, but I was so set on like, I do not want to spend the time and money and waste it if I can just control this with some mental health tools. But Trent and I went ahead and prayed, should we go to the emergency room? And we honestly both had the same feeling, which was pretty much like, yes, go to the emergency room, you dummies. which makes me laugh because I've never had an impression from the spirit like that was sort of like slap in the face. Don't be such a dummy. So we went to the emergency room, and again, I walked into the emergency room on my own 2 feet. And so I think the triage nurse was not treating me like such a emergency. They had me sign in, do some paperwork, told us they didn't have any rooms ready and to just wait there. A couple of minutes later, another triage nurse got me up to like take my weight and get my vitals. But as he was like typing in my symptoms of chest pain, of nausea, his computer immediately returned for him that they were going to immediately get me for an EKG. So someone else came and got me for that EKG. They took me back, hooked me up. I was upset. I was scared, but I still didn't know what was going on. And then immediately after they got the results of the EKG, they were like, okay, we're going to get you back into room 3. But nobody told us what was going on. And as they put me in the room, they were like, okay, change into this gown, get on the table. And I had just barely even started to do that when another nurse came in and started setting an IV. And this man was so kind. I think of him as my little Mr. Rogers angel during this visit because he kept calling me friend. He'd say, how are you doing, friend? I'm so sorry you have to go through this today, friend. And the only thing I remember is that he had this really cool big octopus tattoo on his arm, and he just was doing his thing, getting the IV in, and then he goes, this room is going to start to get really busy right away. And then immediately we heard over the loudspeaker, full cardiac arrest, room 3. And honestly, my first thought was like, oh, that poor person. And then Trent and I like looked at each other and realized that's me. And the room did flood with people. It was just shock. I was scared. The doctor came in and finally told me directly, you're having a heart attack and we need to transfer you to a different hospital. And they put the defibrillator pads on me in case they needed to use them. That was also pretty scary. And they told me they were getting the ambulance ready for the transfer. And another crazy moment, they were asking if I wanted morphine for the pain. And I said something like, no, I've had 6 kids. I'm fine. And like, what was I thinking in that moment? Like, you don't have to just push through. Like, you're having a heart attack. And Trent was like, she wants the morphine. So I'm grateful he said that because it did really relieve a lot of pain and made the ambulance drive more bearable. And everybody was great. The ambulance guys were great. There were 2 big windows. I was surprised that I could see out the back of the ambulance so clearly. And one thing that gave me comfort, I realized where we were and realized that we were going to be driving past the Leighton Temple. So that was just a tender mercy, a little moment to like look at the temple and feel a little bit of peace on the way up to McKay-Dee. So the ambulance ride was like 15 to 20 minutes. Once we got to the hospital, they immediately took me into the cath lab, which is for a catheter. And nobody ever told me this, but I looked it up later. I think it's called an angiogram or a cardiogram. It's where they go into an artery, like at the top of my leg, where it connects to your body, go up through the artery, and then they shoot ink like through that tube to check the paths, right? See where the blood is flowing and where it's stopped. And that was another intense moment in that surgery room with, 7-10 people crowded around me, hooking me up to all sorts of things, prepping me. And they they also said, like, okay, now this can cause a worse heart attack or cause blood clots or a stroke. Are you okay with us proceeding? And you're like, yeah, I guess so. What other choice do I have? And so they gave me a sedative, something that didn't knock me out 100%, but I really don't remember like what was going on. And after that procedure was done, they took me into some recovery room, and Dr. Sean McCandless, he was great, from the hospital, a cardiologist, came in and told us that I had had that SCAD heart attack instead of a regular heart attack. And SCAD stands for spontaneous coronary artery dissection, meaning that an inner lining of one of my arteries had dissected, had ripped, had torn, and that becomes the blockage. Where a normal heart attack, you have plaque that's built up and causes the blockage. The tear becomes the blockage itself, plus any blood pooling and clotting like around it becomes the blockage. And he explained how with a normal heart attack, you go in, you put in a stent, it opens the blockage, you're good to go. And with mine, there's no surgery to repair it, and it just takes time to heal. In fact, it will take like 3 months for the artery to heal. So in the meantime, of course, in the hospital, they put me on a nitroglycerin drip, as well as blood pressure lowering medication to lower my heart rate. Every night they gave me a shot in the belly of a blood thinner. And I was like, hey, can't we use the IVs? Don't we have a pill? But no, they gave me a shot every night. And I have a big bruise on my tummy where they gave me a shot every night. Anyway, crazy stuff. And so that was really scary, because as sort of a nervous, anxious person, I feel like I spend a lot of time in my life convincing myself that rare, crazy things are not going to happen to me. But in this case, a rare, crazy thing did happen to me. They have no reason for why it happened. He said if this was a normal heart attack, we would tell you to go home and stop smoking, go home and change your diet. But he's like, you did absolutely nothing to cause this heart attack. So I have no plaque in my heart. My heart looks pretty healthy. But we've got to take it easy and take the meds for 3 months at least. I'll be doing some cardio rehab in the meantime, where they will hook up my heart and have me exercise and make sure everything's looking good that way. Everyone at the hospital was awesome. It was a difficult stay though, because it was a full week in the hospital, a lot longer. He even told me, like, I was admitted on Monday, and Wednesday morning he said, yeah, just for an example, someone else had a regular heart attack the same day you had yours. They're going home this morning, Wednesday morning. And I had to stay through Sunday morning. Anyway, lots of little stories. I thought I would end this, though, try to end on a high note. I will say it has been scary. And Tuesday morning, early in the morning, when I woke up in the hospital all alone, I just had a really sad little pitiful cry to myself, because I just had to process everything, and it is scary and so unexpected. I do consider myself a faithful person, but I still had a lot of fear, had a lot of tears. And every day, though, I did try to comfort myself with some scriptures from the Bible and the Book of Mormon. I want to share a couple. One of my favorite scriptures is Alma 26:12. Yea, I know that I am nothing. As to my strength, I am weak. Therefore, I will not boast of myself, but I will boast of my God. For in his strength, I can do all things. Yea, behold, many mighty miracles we have wrought in this land, for which we will praise his name forever. And as we were reading this chapter, another verse really stood out like it hadn't before. It's Alma 26:27. Now when our hearts were depressed, and we were about to turn back, behold, the Lord comforted us and said, Go amongst thy brethren the Lamanites, and bear with patience thine afflictions, and I will give unto you success. And I am feeling better now. Every day I gain a little more confidence that like I'm gonna live, I'm gonna be okay, I can get back to a normal, healthy life. It was really scary after all the rush of the emergency room and everything, after being so closely monitored for a week, and him continuing to say, it's not safe for you to go home, it's not safe for you to go home, for him to finally and suddenly be like, okay, now it's safe for you to go home. It didn't feel safe. It felt like I'm gonna have another heart attack. It feels nerve-wracking to have my little bottle of nitroglycerin pills, where if I feel pain, I'm supposed to take that, and if the pain goes away, great, but if it doesn't, I'm supposed to take another one and call the ambulance. And, just to be philosophical here, I guess, none of us ever knows, like, how long we have on the earth, what's going to happen in a particular day. But this has felt especially scary, to just know, like, something rare has happened. There's a 90% chance it's not going to happen again, but there's a 10% chance it will. And so every day I'm just trying to live in the moment and be grateful to be alive and try not to be scared. And I really am clinging to my faith in Jesus Christ, and I do feel like I've had some reassurances that everything is going to be okay and I'm going to live a long and happy life. And there you go. That's my story. And just to finish where I started, please don't ignore your pain. Go to the hospital. Don't be a martyr. Don't try to push through. I'm really glad that we went and that I am here. All right. Merry Christmas, everybody.